Alright, so now that we have our controls in here for our actual PowerFlex drive, and we have our mixer controls in here. So what we want to do is add our manual buttons, our HMI manual buttons, which is the manual start and the manual stop, right? So how are we going to add that? So we want to give the availability to the operator to actually be able to control these functions, right? To be able to start and stop these drives. So in that instance, what we want to do is we want to come in here and do that. So we're going to go into our HMI, and we're going to come over here, and we're going to do first, well, what I'll do is I'll come in here and just do a normal button, and in this normal button we can do a maintain button, we can do a latch button, we can do multi-state, we can do kind of whatever we want to do. In this instance we can just do a standard button, and in this standard button what we can do is an action, and in this action is we'll do our tag. So we'll come in here and look, in this is the key indicator here is you go to all commands or macros, right? So you want to go to all commands or macros, and then you want to come down here and see, would be, I'll show you right here, this should be set, right? So you want to set this tag. So we want to then populate our tags, refresh our tags because we just made their tag, right? So we want to refresh our tags, and now we want to come into online, and we want to get the actual mixer tag. So this is going to be the mixer HMI start button right here, and we want to turn that on. So we'll verify that. So the value, we want to turn it on. So we'll say 1, right? And then on the very bottom down here, when we release it, we want to cut it off. So we'll do the same thing. We'll do set. So you want to set the tag on, and then you want to set the tag off. And the reason for that is the simple fact of, if you leave it set on, it will stay on, right? So we don't want to do that, and we don't have any kind of controls into our actual PLC where we're actually telling it to cut off. What we want to do is just turn it off on the HMI, right? So we'll have it turned off, and we'll tell it 0. Now in the midst of what we're doing, we're not going to have any repeats or nothing like that. We're just going to say if you're pressed, you're a 1, and if you're not pressed, you're a actual 0. So that's put in there. So what we'll do is we'll call this the caption, and we'll call this mixer manual start. And then let's actually call that just like this, manual start, and then we'll make that bold, put it just like that, just really simple like that. And we can do an appearance. So this would be the appearance up, and this would be the appearance down, and the appearance down would be the same as up. We can change the appearance if we want to. If we want to actually, when it's depressed, we can change the color of it. In this instance, what we can do is just come over here and change the color and say that it is pressed, and then we'll call this, we'll copy this over here and paste this over here, and we'll say mixer manual start, and then actually what we'll do, we can say manual start pressed. So that will give that indication. So once it's started, now we can do that. Now we can easily come in here and save that and just test it, right? So we can send that a command to see if it actually sent the command over, and see if it started. So it did start the actual drive, so we know that is working, right? So we had to hold it. Now what we can do is, this is just giving an indication. So now we need to stop the drive because the drive is actually running now. If you look in the drive controls, the drive is actually running, and it's running at 10%. So what we need to do is we come over here and add some controls. We'll come over here and do the same exact thing. We'll copy this, copy paste, and what we're going to do is come over here and change the action. We know this is a stop button, so we'll just say stop. And the only reason we could call the tag, we can actually find the tag if we want to, but we know that it is there. We know it's the actual stop button, and we're going to change this to stop, and we'll change this to stop pressed. Okay, so then we'll call this, and we'll change the color to this, the 4-color. Now the 4-color is something that we probably should have left as, let's just say, a black color, and then the back color is what we should change. So the back color would be a red, and then that would be good. Change that just like that. Same thing over here. When you change the color over here, we'll change the color back to the 4-color of black, and we'll change this to a color green. So now when it's pressed, let's see, save that. When it's pressed, okay, so now we'll stop it. So let's change the color again, because I don't believe we got that right. So this is the pattern color. We messed up. We put the pattern color. We need to do the back color is green, and we need to make this bold. So let's do that one more time. Start button, pressed, stop button. Real simple. So now we have our HMI controls in here. Now we need to make a pop-up screen. So now I wanted to do these first two basically buttons to show you that how easy it is to make a screen, or how easy it is to make the controls. Now we need to make a display, and we're going to size the display just like we did before. And we're going to come over here. What we're going to do to call this display is we're going to actually do the settings. We'll do the current size is the current size of the actual display right here from point A to point B, up and down. Now the key here is you can change the position where it will actually start. Is you can change it to current position, and like say for instance if I move this up or down and I go back to settings, you can see the position changed on the Y position. So Y is up and down, and X is left and right. So what I want to do is actually come over here and have this pop up just right here, and then what we're going to do is change this to actual location. Now we'll leave it like that. That's perfectly fine like it is. So we'll leave that just like it is, and we'll say menu off, minimal button. We'll turn the title off, and we're going to call this on top. Okay, so we're going to call this on top of the other screen. Okay, so now what we want to do is come in and change this to, let's go ahead and get a drawing. We're going to do a panel. We'll just simply do a panel in here and have this panel just like this, and we'll have this panel a little bit darker, and we'll change the border color to a dark, and then we'll raise this to a raised inset. See how that looks. A little bit too much. Actually, let's change the border to 3, and it's a little bit too. So let's change that just like that. See how that looks? That looks okay. We need to change the size just a little bit. So let's change the size, the width, maybe that. That looks good. Okay, so now we need to take the two buttons in here. We need to control. I'm sorry, let's undo that. Control, copy, and then open up the screen we had. So we'll go into window, and the untitled one we had, we're going to paste these in here. This is going to be pasting that one in here, and then we'll control C, or we'll just copy, come back up to our window and paste this in here as well. So paste these two in here. Now this is the mixer controls on and off. Now first we want to actually get these the right level. Right, so we'll have these spread out just like this. And then we want to again come over here and control and then get these to the right level. We'll use our tool over here. Now we can delete these from here because we no longer need them. Come back to our window and we need to make a close. So we're going to do a button and let's do a button, and let's come over here and have this button just like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to call a action, and in the action we're going to come over here to graphic, display, navigation, and abort. Have that just like that, and we'll close the active screen. So as soon as it's pressed, it will close the active screen. Now we're going to open that back up and we're going to give a caption, and we're going to call that the letter X, and then we're going to make it bold just like that. So that would give a good indication that's the close. Now we need to have a primal, I guess, kind of indicator of what this is. So we're going to call this mixer manual controls, and we'll have this bold, and the forecolor is black, so let's raise this up to a 12 and then change the forecolor. Actually, let's keep the forecolor at black, and what we're going to do is we'll have a little screen that pops up, and what we'll do is, or not a little screen but a panel, and we'll have this panel the width of this of our buttons, and what we're going to do is get about the same color as our actual screen or our actual buttons. So we'll get it about the same color as our buttons, and let's get the border correct. Get the border pretty close, and we're going to change this to a raised inset. Let's come over here and get it a little bit closer. Looks fine. It looks pretty close. And then what we'll do is we'll change this and move this down to here, just like this, and move this to front, just like that. Now again, we can make this a little bit deeper and have the controls look let's see, let's actually change that a little bit. I like the way it looked better, where it's more of a deeper color, and I think it's probably because this is not light enough. This one needs to be a little shade lighter. It matches a little bit more, but again, it's still a little off. I think that matches a little bit more. So this is just making a rough little screen here, just to show you how how we can actually do it and how everything would kind of work. Again, when it comes down to it, you can change where the buttons are too. You can actually come over here and group this. So we'll hold and control, group this together, and group it together. Move this over here, change this, put this on the bottom. If we like it better up top, that way it kind of looks, I don't know, it looks better up top. And then what we'll do is we'll save this and call the screen mixer manual controls, and then we'll save it. Now what we still need to come over here and add this to a pop-up, so we're going to call this as a touch on our mixer. So when they touch the mixer, they come over here to press, and they come over here to display, navigate, and you want to come over here and call the mixer controls, and then hit apply. So what we'll do here is save this, and then we're going to go ahead and start our client. Now we want to start our client because we can't test You're not able to run the screen as a test mode and developmental mode and actually call that actual screen we just made. So we have to run a client and physically run the client like we would normally into a normal operation, right? So we're going to go ahead and run our client and do that atmosphere. All right, so but just to make sure that everything does work, we're going to go ahead and pull the manual controls up, and we're going to ahead and run the screen. And let's start this. It does work. We'll stop. I can hear the drive cut on right beside me. So I just want to make sure that that does work properly. And again, we'll close that button, and we can pull that back up if we wanted to. But again, now we're starting our client, and as soon as our client comes up, we're going to actually see this work, and just like it would as an operator would to push the button, right? So this is giving another fundamental aspect to giving the operator control to actually manually run the actual mixer motor when they want to. So this is popping up, our HMI is popping up. We can speed this stuff up if we wanted to, but for the sake of what we're doing, it's perfectly controlled. So now you see when I hover over this, this is an actual button that's going to pop a screen up. And you see that's manual controls. That's going to start that button up. This would stop the actual screen. Now we can move this over. Let's actually pop that up and move that over just a hair and change the way that moves. Let's see. Let's get the display. And display, we could change the positions. Let's do current position. And pop that up just like that. Just save that. Now the cool thing about SE is as soon as I pop this down, as soon as I just abort this and pop it back up, it should take over and change. Now it didn't seem like it changed positions. I'm trying to sort of wonder why it didn't change positions. See, current position, allow resizing. This is the side position. This is side position. This is the up and down. And let's actually change that to maybe 100. See if that works. And that gave a good indication. Now let's give a lot bolder. Oh, another thing too. If you want to have this screen pop up, you can have the title bar. Or you can let's enable the title bar, and you can have a variable. You can insert a variable if you want to, but we'll just put that as that. So I'll show you this real quick. And you see it popped up in a different location this time, and it also popped up the blue box so we can move it around as well. And that's the cool thing about doing that. So now we can stop it, start it, stop it, and that's just building a simple little pop-up for this, right? Now we could make that look a lot better. Again, I'm just giving you a rough indication of how to get that to work, and we can do that for each one of these things if we wanted to, and have the pump manually run, have this pump manually run, have this pump, have the valves manually cut on, and use this same control if we wanted to, or even build multiple ones and have them call different ones each time, right? So that's just giving you an option. So we can Control Shift Q using our client keys, and that shuts down the HMI. So now that we have all that built, you can easily see that our controls are working properly and everything is working just as we built it in the very last video. So again, hopefully you got a lot out of that. I'm sorry that the video kind of ran a little bit long, but again, when it comes down to it, the details of how things are done and how things you should go about testing things before you waste a lot of time, just building and building and building. You should go about testing things and then come back and make it aesthetically look better and function the way you want it to work. So we may come back and make that little pop-up look a little bit better, but again, when it comes down to it, we just wanted to get the functionality working, and get it to that point. So with all that said, we'll see you guys on the next one.